welcome to Playwright, a podcast about creating and sharing new ways to play. My name is Ryan Hamann. You can call me H.
And I'm Ryan Quintal. You can call me late for dinner.
We're getting back to the hacky stuff really early in the show, are we?
I guess so. I'm so sorry. I know I've delayed our recording by a few minutes tonight just to...
It's all right. It doesn't matter. Doesn't affect when it's coming out, so the listeners have no skin in this game.
That is interesting, isn't it? Like, I can be late, but it's not late for the listener necessarily.
Well, I mean, if we push it too far, then it starts to have that knock-on effect. But yeah, for the most part, we're pretty well covered.
Got it.
Recording ahead of time.
There's a point of no return. Are we taking a holiday break, H?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be out of town for a couple weeks, and so we can just kind of see with our schedules how things kind of pan out as far as like recording dates beforehand. But if we get a buffer, great. If not, then maybe we can kind of take an impromptu holiday break. We can kind of decide that as we get a little bit closer. But yeah, it is mid-December. We've not yet planned that far out.
I'm ready for you to do some man on the street stuff. Everybody loves a guy reporting from a hurricane. So if you can get into any storms to record the show, that would be even better.
Also, as of today, this is our Christmas show. This will be releasing on Christmas Eve. So I guess happy holidays, everyone. If you are in the spirit of the holidays, are hoping to drop a few more holiday themed pitches our way. They will be going up mid-January, but we will still read them because we like to keep the spirit of Christmas alive in our hearts all year round, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be celebrating Christmas. Happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy everything for everyone. We hope you're having a great holiday. I had realized, H, that I hadn't really taken anything as a substantial vacation until now. So I think at the end of the year, I am going to peel off a week or two for myself just to reset and recharge, that whole thing.
That's great. Yeah, everybody needs some time away every once in a while.
Yeah, same. I hope you're getting some time.
Yeah, taking some time. I mean, at Microsoft, things kind of clear out towards the end of December, beginning of January, and so everyone likes to get away during that time. So there's not as much going on as there are, for the rest of the year.
Right. It tends to leak, or rather be a place where everybody's enjoying the fruits of the rest of the year's labor for Microsoft.
Yeah, right. Anyways, let's get to some video game pitches. I believe you are going first today.
Well, my pitch today is a mental mashup of a lot of things that I've been experiencing lately. So I may have complained in the past about Star Trek Discovery on this show, and I have to say, we're in season 3 of Discovery now, and I take it back. It's really turned the ship around. And one of the premises of the 3rd season of Discovery is that the crew is in the far future, a time where...
Isn't that every season, though?
Yes, this is the farthest future Star Trek has ever been, though. And their technology that they have is novel now in this time period, and so it has special value. And I kind of smashed that up against thinking of some mech stuff with Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I don't know if you've played it. Have you played the game Haven recently? It's a Game Pass game.
Oh, Haven. Yeah, that's the one with the two characters that are living on that world together and they're in love. I've not yet played it. I haven't installed.
I think you think it's cool. It's got a really good soundtrack, and so I'm thinking about...
Yeah, that's by the folks who did Fury.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. So I'm thinking about, in my mind, this open world sort of Breath of the Wild style... That sounds like an album cover, like Breath of the Wild style. Open world RPG in this Breath of the Wild like land, post-apocalyptic, ruined and nature reclaimed, where you are someone who is sent far forward in time, and you've got a mech suit. And at this point in the future, technology is mostly gone, but there are these giant beasts that roam the land, similar to the Neon Genesis setting, and you play the only character with access to this mech that can fight these creatures. So you have to go around the land. You can get out of your mech, talk to people, build relationships, and get back in to run missions and defeat these creatures and obtain rare materials so that you can go and rebuild the mech. And I think like one of the twists I'd like to see is you can't actually heal in combat. All you can do is take damage. All damage is permanent damage. And you have to use raw materials to kind of rebuild and weld your mech back together after combat.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and start the clock there then. So I do like this raw materials to repair injuries, as it were. I'd like it in this, this kind of the thought experiment of like, how many times can you patch a sock before it's no longer the original sock any longer, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd like if these materials that we are actually patching into the broken portions of the robot are potentially different materials, are, it's not like like in most video games, when you apply a healing item, your character just kind of goes back to an unbattered aesthetic state. I'd like it if these kind of battle scars remain because you're patching yourself with different materials. Maybe if you have to replace an arm or a leg or a gun or something, then they could have potentially different effects based on the material you used to patch it. And so your moveset is expanding as you go. You're unlocking new abilities, but they're not permanent abilities. They're kind of like you're unlocking ability potential slots like throughout the game. And then based on whatever material makes up that particular portion of the machine, the ability will manifest in different ways. And so you kind of have to get used to things as you go and maybe have different types of materials on hand because you have kind of favorite loadouts, as it were.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And now once you get into the repairing game, I think that idea of, do you remember Fable 1, the very first Fable, actually, you would like end that game with a ton of facial scars. And for me, my brain goes to the like, how do I create the aesthetically perfect, Paragon good guy? And then after you get your first scar, it's like getting a first little scratch or something on a brand new car. You're just like, well, I have two choices here. I can learn to accept this and move forward with it, and even embrace it, right? So I do love the idea of, based on somebody's combat style or based on how they're fighting and the risks that they take, that everybody kind of ends the game with a unique mech. That'd be so cool.
Another kind of fun twist, and I don't know how this would necessarily play out, but you are yourself a human getting into a larger mech. It'd be kind of fun if towards the end of the game you found like a slot in the world that the mech can plug into and take control of kind of like a giant golem, either made of the earth or, breaking out from underneath it. It's like an even bigger robot that you can stomp around in for a while.
Now we're talking a bigger mech to put the mech in.
Yep.
That's a good idea. I love the idea of, maybe even like building yourself up, like somebody who, like, what if you do want to maintain the look of your mech, and could we build in, I'm almost thinking like Metal Gear Solid 3 like systems, if you're able to coat yourself in mud, or like The Witcher, use the right oils before you go into combat to keep the paint from scratching.
I think if you get damaged, then the damage is permanent, but you can always, refill it with the materials that it was originally filled with, and then you can, go back to base and get it painted. And so, afterwards you can kind of get it looking new again, in the same way that, people can do pretty miraculous things to restore old cars, but it doesn't take away from the fact that, parts of that original robot are still kind of littered on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wonder if I was also thinking, would it be interesting to maybe you come back to this village and this is some far future version of your hometown. You've got this, incredible sadness. Your regiment, whatever, your squad of mechs was not able to save the world, so they just like threw you into the future so you could be essentially an arbiter of history. And then to in that moment, as you mine these materials and you're the one that knows how to build mechs, could you start using spare parts that you're collecting and spare technologies to like build mechs for the town folk?
Yeah, that would be interesting too.
Yeah, and then like now you've got not only people that you could squad up with and you could have a squad of mechs that you can control, but maybe there's, those kind of passive mechanics where either while you're away from the screen or while you're playing just off in the background, you can send people on supply runs and actually start like building this society back up through this mechanic.
Yeah, some choose to kind of use their mechs for farming or other types of, purposes around town. I could see that being, maybe it's not immediately obvious what they are going to use the mech for. And so you can kind of get a sense for what type of personality they have by speaking to them and getting to know them. But, whether or not they join your crew as like an active party member or, just kind of settle down at home and use the mech for more kind of domestic purposes is perhaps something you just have to learn as you go.
What I like about that is this idea of if this is not an economy of unlimited resources, if there are only one set, like let's say sum total, there are 10 complete sets of mechs or whatever to be had, and to say, oh, well, if I give the person who's farming or whatever resource gathering, if I give them the speed build parts, they're going to be able to farm those things faster. Or if I give them the tanky parts, that they'll be able to run more missions or survive more attacks and not need to, have so much resources to repair them when they get back. So you're constantly choosing between maybe it doesn't end up choosing because I think people have combat styles they like and play with it. But the idea of you're not able to max everything. So what are you going to optimize for? And are you going to rotate that optimization?
That is kind of a smart solution to a lot of RPG problems where you end up overloaded with gear throughout your journey and you end up selling it, which is fine because it allows you to buy things that you want with that money. But it, I don't know, it always feels rather unfulfilling. Like you're just kind of melting down all of these swords and axes and stuff you find in the battlefield for just kind of like a number.
Yeah.
If it was clear that each of these tools that you gathered were actually being put to use by somebody actually, just supporting the grander mission in like a base building type of way, whether they're guards in town or whether they're farmers, then, I think that's a more appealing way to kind of spin this, the loot system.
Right. You turn it into something where like this thing does have utility to you, even if you turn it into an indirect utility. Because I'm with you. I think like even some of my favorite games, your Diablos of the world and World of Warcraft, these things are. I don't know if World of Warcraft's actually one of my favorite games anymore. That's a strange thought. But you end up like selling 10,000 swords over the course of a playthrough of the game. And so it would be, I'm almost like, would, something that has the vibes of a Breath of the Wild / Nier sort of thing going on, plus the idea of sharing resources with other people, because you're the one that is reintroduced this technology into a society that is now in the state where it is a revolution for them all over again, even though it's the future.
We are about out of time. Let's go ahead and close that one down and let's come up with a name for it.
I would love something that feels sad. Although that's not necessarily a good holiday vibes, or like a Western almost.
Mm-hmm. I picture something like this, if it were to actually exist, would have like a completely weird, irrelevant name, coming out of a Japanese studio, like the recent, was it 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim or something like that?
You're right.
Like, something that describes something in the world, but for our purposes, it doesn't really make for a great episode title.
Okay. Why don't we do a tribute and we try The Good, the Bad, and the Rusted?
That's pretty fun. I like that. All right, let's go on to my pitch for the day. What I am bringing is construction of marble courses. The little tubes that you would set up to run marbles down, but you're creating them in intricate and dense environments. So like forests and cities and stuff like that. And and you're just running marbles down it. Essentially, it's kind of like creating a contiguous path from top to bottom without, with somewhat predefined shaped pieces. Just trying to find a way to fit everything together. It's kind of like a 3D puzzle game in a way. So I don't know if it's too open-ended. I don't know if it's too close-ended. I guess we'll find out. Let's go ahead and start the clock.
One of the things I really like about this, because I had brought a marble game months and months and months ago at this point, but one of the things I like about thinking about what you're proposing here is this idea of, and I don't know if it's fully part of it, but the idea of having to work around these tight environments. And are you imagining that there's like a set start and end point, and I have the pieces I have?
Yeah, I think in a way, like it's almost kind of like the hacking puzzles in Spider-Man. It's a very kind of standard set of, like, there are pieces that you have, there's a start point and an end point, and you just kind of have to construct this 3D structure to connect those 2 points, while making sure that your marble kind of avoids obstacles and stuff like that. I'm not fully in love with the idea yet, because the kind of dense environments are like, I don't know if they're really impacting gameplay for me yet, unless you have to kind of like, move your marble through tree branches and around trunks of trees and over animal nests and stuff like that. Like, interesting interactions, but we could do something more freeform, kind of like stringing out movable and shapeable tracks yourself. But I'm not sure. I would just like marbles to roll around in places where they're not supposed to be, and want to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And I think the economy of track pieces is really important to this thing. So in my mind, maybe if it's almost like a Tony Hawk course builder or something, or a Trackmania course builder, the idea of you don't have enough pieces to just construct a smooth start to finish. So you're going to have to find pieces of the environment to kind of glide the marbles along or bounce them off of, or...
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So you have to like...
off-road.
Right. There'll be off-road segments. And so
by the end of the game, it kind of turns into like a bigger Rube Goldberg type setup, where you are using kind of complex objects that are all kind of set up to perform special actions that would allow you to kind of skip large portions of the intended pathway, as it were.
Yeah, and if you can freeform almost in like the way you see almost like flying mode in Minecraft, I would call it almost a debug mode for game developers. But the idea of being able to pull out and actually really look at the environment and say, wow, I guess there's a rattlesnake plant over there. I suppose I could get a marble over there. But if you even bring in some of the mechanics that you see in some really creative marble courses, where like, here's a little marble lift, right? That is like putting them on a track and carrying them up. Maybe there's some courses where you're like, okay, the biggest thing I need to do is just get them to the top of the tree, and they will, build up this momentum. Otherwise, I'm saying tree because I've got forest in my mind, but I love the idea of doing a rocky beach and, maybe even like inside a spider's nest or something like that.
One of the things I like also is perhaps there are checkpoints along the way. Just something to kind of visually segment the tracks and to at least kind of give you some sort of a structure for where you're supposed to be building, so that, when you inevitably get to the bottom of the course and find that you are, 3 or 4 pieces short of what you need to complete it, then you can look back at each of those kind of segments of the course and start rethinking, like, where can I better optimize here? What can I do to get back a piece or two along the way so that I can build something more complete at the end? And I would think if it's kind of just one long run, that part of the puzzle starts to feel a bit intimidating, because it's like, now anything could be wrong. And if I'm wrong very early in the course, then like I can't just take that block out because everything else is dependent upon it. But if there are kind of like checkpoints along the way, kind of like Lonely Mountains downhill, how there are checkpoints down the mountain. If there are checkpoints along the way, then like really, it's up to you to just go back to each segment and kind of like optimize as you go and see, it feels more manageable in that way.
I think you're right. Like if you can, the easiest run is basically make a couple of smart turning decisions with your pieces and you can make it to the end. But then it's like the Mario Maker crazy version of the course is, no, if you can, maneuver around this thing. I even like the idea of putting right before the sort of goal or the exit, the idea of putting a little flap just kind of like hanging on a hinge, and the flaps have different resistances. So you actually have to not only hit the end, but you have to get the marbles to the end with a certain amount of momentum potentially. So you can't just like straight line them there, but like, okay, by the time, you get to the end, they need to be going at a certain speed in order to push past the flap and actually reach the goal.
And of course, you'd also have to balance just keeping that kind of downwards momentum at all times as well. If you have a piece that kind of juts upwards, then you would need to put that at kind of the bottom of a large drop so that the marble has the momentum to carry over. Just like, building a roller coaster in Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, I like the idea too of maybe I don't know if this is now too much, but I like the idea of like more than one run. So like if you have a marble, like let's say you have an off-road segment and you get unlucky with a little break and something gets stuck. Not only the idea of a future marble being able to unstick a previous marble, but you also being scored in your course's consistency of like, can you get all three of your marble runs across the line in the same thing? Like, does your course deliver it reliably, not just, you get lucky?
I'm liking this. This is really coming together a lot more than my original idea. This is cool. So we have interesting kind of marble. I mean, this could also be, like you were saying, we can have multiple runs. Perhaps there are like different colors of marbles. We have to set up different color tracks for them to ride down simultaneously, but the tracks can't cross over. And so that's just another kind of obstacle that we are building around. And, if our blue track is in one of the essential places that the purple track has to pass through, then we have to find a way to circumvent that original location with the blue track so that, both can exist in harmony with one another.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too that like maybe there is that, you give some reality breaking augments that like your track manias where pieces of track will speed up your marble or have less resistance. Or I'm always convinced when I watch those marble run videos on YouTube that like different colors of marbles seem to move at a different speed. I don't know if that's just like, man, orange ones seem faster. Maybe that's just the human eye being attracted to a certain color.
I think individual marbles could move faster or slower than other marbles, but I don't think it would have anything to do with the color necessarily.
Maybe it's more Super Monkey Ball like, and you have like marble classes of like, okay, in this course you have a class D marble, it's going to lose momentum quicker, but when it picks up,
especially if you have like heavy marbles or light marbles.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are also like, I would say like course modifiers in a way. Perhaps, I don't know whether it's things that you would intentionally yourself do to the course, like spilling oil on it to make that part of the course extra slick, or if it's a matter of like where you put your, if you're in a rainy forest, then any portions of the course that are exposed to the sky and to the rain would become wet, and portions that are covered by the trees would stay dry. And maybe you would be using each of those conditions in different and interesting ways as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Especially if you have like now in my spider's nest example, you have to like get through some cobwebs, and that will temporarily, as they're caught on you, decrease your speed. And so you actually have to re-achieve a certain speed in order to fully shake the cobwebs, or else you're going to inch across the finish line.
Yeah, anyways, we are way over time on that one, actually. Let's go ahead and give it a name.
Who was that old... Labyrinth. That was that old like maze marble game where you have to get a marble in a hole, right?
There was Marble Madness was an old kind of arcade marble game.
Yeah, that too. So I'm wondering if there's like some homage to that. This is almost like Marble Madness Super Circuit or something.
Let's see. Marble Ultimate Alliance. I think I made that joke when we pitched our last marble game.
Well, if you get the right developer, this could be Marble versus Capcom.
Let's see. Ball run. It's a little dicey, but balls in nature.
Ooh, could you do something like Rolling Thunder or something?
Rolling Thunder. That could work.
I'm also down for all of the Marvel puns, whether that's Marvel tracks.
You could also do like balls out or balls to the wall, one of those types of rude puns. But in this case, it's very innocent.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Be the voice of reason here.
This is a very strange question. What was one of your ball jokes previously?
I do like balls out and balls to the wall. Balls in nature.
What if we do MarBalls to the wall?
MarBalls to the wall. I mean, I guess it fits. It works.
You're not happy with it, but
I think there's a certain we are piling puns on top of puns.
Yeah.
But I feel like at a certain point it kind of it crosses the line twice and becomes funny again. Anyways, I think that will do it for that one. Let's head over to the community and see what y'all have for us today. This one comes in from the ever reliable Ashton Hermann, who says, "Hey guys, it's me again. I'm still on an Elder Scrolls kick, but my pitch today is something that looks pretty different, I think. One of Oblivion's best quests, well, not hitting the different train so far, but we'll see where this one goes. One of Oblivion's best quests was a Youdunnit for the Dark Brotherhood. The quest effectively had you playing the murder in an elaborate murder mystery, picking off your victims one by one in a house of increasingly fewer occupants until the final survivor realizes it was you all along, and it was delightful. So my pitch is to take that concept and spread it out over the course of an entire game. It's a murder mystery in the same vein as Clue or Knives Out, for a more modern reference point, only you are not the investigator, you're the killer. I can also see this playing as a multiplayer game, but then I think it might just end up being Among Us. Yeah, fair enough. Let's go ahead and start the clock there.
Did you watch Knives Out yet? Because I feel like you'd love that movie.
I did. I love that movie.
Yeah, okay. I didn't make the connection that really it is just, 2019's Clue.
I mean, everyone is playing such exaggerated parts, and they're all kind of defined by their clothing. It's very Clue in its construction.
Yeah. And hey, I think a portion of it shot in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So shout out to Lowell. I
where
love
they picked up those believable American accents.
Yeah.
So authentic.
The idea of the murder mystery, I think, is very fun. And I do think that this is a small thing, but I feel that the nature of it being Clue-like or being a murder mystery actually would make it stylistically a lot more enjoyable. Almost I could see Arcane making a really cool version of this.
I think there's a couple of things this makes me think of offhand. There's a game, I think there's 2 games in the main series and a constructor game in the series called Party Hard, I think it is. And it's an indie game where you are at a house party or a rave or something like that. It's very colorful, loud music, lots of dancing, very kind of Hotline Miami-esque. But it's a overhead perspective, very, very zoomed out. Everyone is very small on the map. You control one character at this house party, and essentially you have to, I guess the goal is to kill everybody at the party and without being noticed. So, hiding bodies and doing whatever you can to kind of blend in. I've always had a really strong negative reaction to seeing that game just because I think the kind of mundane setting feels a little bit too real in a way. I don't know. I play Hitman and you are actually going to realistically rendered cities and stuff to kill people. And so I don't know what my aversion to it is. I think it's the difference between a targeted killer and a serial killer, somebody who kills for a purpose and somebody who kills because he is getting some sort of a, power thrill out of it. But then I play Doom. I don't know. I can't make up my mind, but there's something about, innocent partygoers that are not deserving of that. And I find it very mean-spirited without having played the game, admittedly. I find it very mean-spirited to be thrust into that role, but it's an interesting idea anyways. And I think that, that type of mode is interesting if you choose to play that way in one of the recent Hitman games. There are some people who do genocide runs or, they'll do challenges. There are videos of this on YouTube where they'll try to kill every NPC in an entire map, which is great challenge, but it's, I don't know, you really have to get creative because oftentimes there are not enough deadly weapons in a course to effectively, manage just how many people are packed into those environments. But anyways, on the subject of Hitman, in Hitman 3, still upcoming as of the time of recording, there's going to be a level that is kind of, roughly based on the concept of Knives Out in a way. You are being called in as the detective to solve a mystery in an old Victorian manor amongst a family of, degenerates who don't get along. And you are being called in to investigate. They don't know that you're actually an assassin. And you're going to use that opportunity to get a kill in yourself. But so this exact thing might play out in January of next year. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know yet.
Kind of what you're saying. I've got a twist here that might make it feel both in the genre of a Hitman game, but also like a unique take on it. The Hitman games, you certainly play. You're more of an expert on them than I, but the idea is you play the level a bunch of times potentially, right? And see what kind of chaos can ensue that way. So I'm wondering, what if in the Knives Out format, in the same way that Clue and these murder mystery movies love to cast basically everyone in the house being potentially the murderer, what if the game is literally level by level, is you play a different person in the house and you have to murder the person?
You have to play out kind of, maybe there's one series of events that takes place, and there are certain events that are observed, evidenced events that have to take place, but it's kind of like a Rashomon type thing where everything that isn't a part of the official police report is interpretive. And so you play through the same night essentially with every character, and you are free to explore and do their pieces of it, eventually landing the kill as each of the people in this house. But you have to kind of check in the places where you are known to be at the times that you're known to be there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's cool too. But I love the idea of Agent 47 has, well, to use a term, a particular set of skills. And I like the idea of, if you have a Knives Out type of cast where there's a young kid in there and there's an old woman in there and there's somebody who is got all these people with different quirks and different attributes, and can you pull off a masterful murder as each of them in the house and using their different strengths? If one of them knows music, potentially you can distract people with your, piano or guitar playing as you have poisoned someone in another room where, somebody else who's got the gift to gab might be able to argue their way out of an accusation or something like that. But as you do each as you play through each person in each run, like you are building up to like trying to successfully murder and come out innocent as the more increasingly difficult person. And like the game ends with someone with very limited skills and who everybody had already believed to be guilty anyway. So
it's kind of fun. I mean, kind of like the thing that I was pitching just recently, like you can almost play through the level as each character twice, both kind of in their own defense, telling the story that like almost establishing their alibi, going about, doing various things to try to prove that you're not the murderer or to investigate other players, like all of this in flashback, or like, and you have to play the accuser's version of the story of them actually committing the crime. And so, taking this familiar format of the Hitman series, this kind of Groundhog Day, like playing the same events multiple times from using different routes through the mansion and different tools and stuff like that. But again, kind of putting that interpretive spin on it.
I know that Hitman can be funny, but I think for me, going into the realm of being more explicitly comedic without even necessarily a straight man in the role of the murderer, what ways do you think like we could introduce that sort of different tone? I love the idea of like the Knives Out house and some of these murder mystery houses feel like the houses themselves are kind of magical in some way. I feel like there's secret doors or there's, compartments or there's old statues that maybe articulate in some way. It's like the Resident Evil mansion vibe of, is there a lot of secrets within this house? And can you use your knowledge of how they work to your advantage?
I feel like tonally this would probably fit very well with like the Sexy Brutale and games like that. I think there's ways to, imply comedic feelings and reactions without, outright telling jokes. But anyways, we are over time on that one. We do have to kind of come to the end of this discussion, this investigation, and let's find a name for it.
What do you think of Youdunnit?
That's good. I like it. I think we landed on that one early. Good.
Yeah, the name struggle can always be the hardest part.
All right. Let's if you would like to send in a pitch of your own, you can do so by going to playwrightcast.com/pitch. You can tweet us at playwrightcast, or you can email us playwrightcast@gmail.com.
Special thank you to PROTODOME for the use of our theme song, Hello World, off the album Blue Noise. And while you're listening to things in your headphones or over your phone speaker, I hope you have more dignity than just the phone speaker. Even then, we love you. Go listen to the wonderful podcasts available at caneandrinse.com, like Cane and Rinse, like Sound of Play, like The Sausage Factory. I imagine if it's not already recorded, that some end of the year stuff might be in the works here.
So we're not doing one of our big kind of like end of year review shows, but I'm doing the end of year remix on Sound of Play. So that I think is the only end of year celebration that we're going to be doing this year.
Before you know it, you're going to be in one of these situations where like the longest running video game music project of all time, if you're not already there.
I guess if you count like the music of the Super Mario Brothers series or something like that, and then they'll probably have me beat by a pretty large margin.
Well, it is what it is.
Collectively.
Oh, I just thought of it. The Marble Cinematic Universe.
There we go. All right. Let's close this down with a redacted game. I believe that you're the one that's going to be trying to stump me this week.
Yes. So, your redacted game this week. In a cinematic sequel to the critically acclaimed Redacted game. Players will be on the
Sorry, what?
to the critically acclaimed redacted game.
Is game a verb? What's going on in that sentence?
I would say, I will give you this context. In the climactic sequel to the critically acclaimed game title, genre game.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's quite the sentence. Players will be on the edge of their seats from start to finish, brimming with epic, gorgeous cutscenes and battles that are more exhilarating than ever. This game never lets up on the action. Fight on top of a redacted, as it redacted through a redacted. Duke it out against a giant redacted, who bears a redacted for a redacted, on top of a redacted. And take to the skies in a fight against a redacted while ascending to the top of a redacted.
I guess I'll... Did it say that this is like the sequel or a sequel at the beginning?
It says in this climactic sequel.
In this climactic sequel. Okay. All right. I'll give a guess straight out the gate. Is this one of the Final Fantasy 13 games?
This is not a Final Fantasy game.
Okay, so let's go through that weirdly specific run of details in there again. So
yeah,
we're fighting on top of something while ascending something. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. It's a lot of. I'll try and take it slow. So fight on top of a redacted as it redacted through a redacted. So that's our first statement. Duke it out against a giant redacted who bears a redacted for a redacted on top of a redacted. It sounds like a lot of redaction, but there's like way more words that are not redaction and all this stuff. And take to the skies in a fight against a redacted while ascending to the top of a redacted.
Okay. It's probably a bad idea to burn through another guess so early already, but is this Bayonetta 2?
Merry Christmas, Age. This is Bayonetta 2. Good job.
Oh. Wow. So the first one would be fighting on top of a jet that's like burning through the city, right?
Yeah, through a downtown city. That's right.
Yeah, there we go.
Duke it out against a giant angel who bears a whip for an arm on top of a speeding train. What a mad game this is. And take to the skies in a fight against a demonic monster while ascending to the top of a skyscraper. You got it.
I think all that takes place in the opening level too.
They just get that out of the way right away. That is, I loved some of these details. It is the number 4 best Switch game of 2018.
That's actually kind of surprising. Oh, sorry. Switch title of 2018. So the re-release then, not like its original. Okay. All right.
Yeah. It is a 92 on Metacritic. Bayonetta 2. That's the Switch version anyway. It is it's a 91 for some reason on Wii U. I guess that's the Wii U discount.
Yeah. Probably runs a little bit better on Switch, I'd imagine. Yeah,
I do like that it starts with the climactic sequel, even though we know that there's another one on the way. So
yeah, well, it's they wanted to get that climax pun in there as well.
Yeah, very important. Well, this
Good
was
one.
so
and,
nice.
I mean, seasonally appropriate. Bayonetta 2 during that opening level where all of those described events are taking place. Bayonetta and her Danny DeVito friend are out Christmas shopping.
Oh,
so,
I didn't realize.
Yeah, they're in the city to do some Christmas shopping.
Oh my God, that is very strange fictional wrapper for that event. I wish I had planned that, but I didn't. So thank you for connecting it.
You can always find the Christmas and everything.
Did you ask for anything specific this year for Christmas, Age?
I'm interested in, obviously I'm interested in like music work and production, that kind of thing. I'm working with very manual tools though. So I kind of asked for some more, music software that kind of does a little bit more of the heavy lifting, hoping to see if that would kind of make things a little bit easier or could unlock the potential to do more interesting things with music. But otherwise, I always have a hard time asking for things, I just, I feel like most of the things that I want, like I'm able to just kind of purchase. And so by the time Christmas rolls around, I'm pretty well taken care of.
I'm very, fortunate to be in that position as well. And I think it makes buying for me a nightmare. But I think,
But at the same time, though, I feel like we both are fans of like weird little novelties and stuff like that. Like, I feel like it would be difficult to get me like the things that I'm going to like utilize every day. But at the same time, like people can buy me like an amiibo and I'd just be like, I'd be very happy with that because like, hey, It's Ryu from Street Fighter. Cool.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm the same way. But I mean, even then, I think, it's either like that small sort of silly trinket stuff, or now it's like in the world of like, yeah, I guess I could get a $600 synthesizer. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I also don't want to ask for anything that's like, and it's $400. Sorry.
Right. Well, for all the little boys and girls with PlayStation 5s and Series X's and S's on their Christmas list this year, I hope Santa was lucky, but please understand if he wasn't.
Indeed. Anyways, that'll do it for us today. We'll catch you again either next week or whenever we get around to recording again. It'll be, again, things might get a little messy during the holiday season, but we'll try to keep it consistent. But anyways, until we catch you next time, thanks for listening.
Happy holidays.